We are back. It's part two. Part B. It's part B. Welcome back to Typing with Lynda. And we're trying to figure out what type you are, Lynda. um, so, while I was taking my break, I was thinking about various things. And I would like if you could tell me a little bit about your relationship with the arts, creating anything artistic, if at all, if you do, or participate in the arts at all. Could you tell me what is your relationship with the arts, if any?
I like to paint.
Okay. What do you paint, by the way? What are the
Um,
types of things that you paint?
I don't paint people.
Okay.
No. I do like landscapes and scenery,
Okay.
but that is not something that I ever started. That's something that my husband started and I wanted to be included, so I started like doing what he was doing. And so I that's not something I ever did. I can't draw. No, no.
Okay.
None of that. But it is something I've picked up in the last 5 or 10 years, and it's kind of fun, but I kind of have to be in the mood for it.
Okay. Um, what about writing? Do you do any writing?
I did poetry when I was a teenager,
Mm-hmm.
um, but other than that, no, I don't think I'm really all that creative.
Okay.
I can cook. That's kind of creative. That's
Sure, sure, sure.
that's kind of artsy to me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But as far as like going to an art museum,
Mm-hmm.
well, I was in like Portugal and they had some kind of, and I'm gonna get this wrong. It's gonna be embarrassing, but some kind of like statue that's all important, and I did not go see it. And my husband was so disappointed. He was stuck in business meetings all day, and so he didn't get to wander around the country like I did. But something about I don't know Donna, some kind of statue that's important, some kind
Uh-huh.
of goddess or something. I didn't I didn't go to that museum. I didn't see that. No, I went to the zoo. I was I mean I probably should have just because it's art and people like art, but I did not go there. It was not something I did.
Okay, so on a scale from 1 to 10, how curious of a person would you say you are? 10 is Curious George.
um, that's
It,
kind of a hard question because I think it depends on what the category is for me.
oh,
Like,
okay.
I am curious about what people's motivations are. I'm curious
Okay.
about why people do what they do, but
Uh-huh.
I'm not like, um, I'm not like my son who is curious about everything.
Okay, okay. I got you.
So I mean, I'm not curious about how to build something if I don't care about it, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm more curious. So I'm gonna say 7-ish,
Okay.
maybe. That might be high.
No, that's good. That's really helpful, actually. Um, um, hold on 1 second here. All right. It's all coming together.
Should have it narrowed down by now.
It's pretty narrowed down. Yeah, it's getting close. Um, it's getting pretty close. Um, yeah. So you mentioned that you mentioned that you're pretty quiet, but then sometimes you kind of come out of the blue and people are like caught off guard or whatever.
Hmm. Because
What?
I wait. I don't, I just wait for the timing. If something
Uh-huh.
is wrong, if I just wait for the timing and then and it's almost like a little punch to them and they're like, oh, wow. And it cuts very deep.
Okay. And uh okay, so you read between the lines, right? You knew what was going on beneath the surface.
Sometimes, sometimes I can do that. Sometimes I have a really hard with people. Um,
You have a really what?
I have a hard time with people
Hmm.
sometimes.
In what way?
Um, like if they say they want a taco, do they really want a taco, or are they just saying they want a taco?
Okay,
Like,
okay. So you're,
are we
but that's
just
what I, that's,
playing games
yeah.
here?
But that's what I'm saying. You're reading between the lines to some degree. You're not taking what they're saying at face value. You're like, well, what do they really mean, right?
Well, that's true, but I will say that, okay, so here's an example. One time I was on this cruise ship because okay, I had three cruises this last year, so it was a little bit of overkill, but anyway, that was totally irrelevant. So I'm on this cruise last September with 14 other women, and one of the girls got her iron taken away and she was very upset that someone would take her iron away, and she's like, I don't know why they care, I don't know why anybody would take that away because it's against the rules, right? And so I said, I really thought that she did not know why they would take her iron away, so then I let her know why they would take her iron away. Like, it's the number one, a fire is a number one problem for the
Hmm.
ship. Like,
Hmm.
you can't be doing that, and that is why they just don't want you having that.
Right.
Well, she was not
She couldn't put.
really asking that, but I thought she was.
Uh-huh. And so what was the fallout from
Well, then she said, "Well, you like to follow the rules, don't you?" And the other girl said, "Yes, she has to follow the rules." And I said, "No,
that?
I don't." But no, everybody in the table knew that I follow rules.
Okay,
So,
okay, I get you.
but she didn't really mean, and I do run into that a lot where people are asking a question and to, they don't really want the answer, but I think they do.
Okay, okay. Got it. So,
Then,
s-
then after all of that's over, then sometimes I can read between the lines and go, oh. But there are times, I will say, there are times whenever I'm like, oh, this is exactly what's going on in the background, and this is not at all what they're saying, but I know what's really happening. Sometimes I'm wrong, but um,
sure.
I can do that from time to time too. So that, I mean, that's kind of a hard. I'm not really answering the question.
No, that's okay. It's
Kind of
you're giving me
sides
a
of
lot of
the,
different things to think about.
yeah, it just kind of puts me on both sides of the fence, I think, because that question is so broad to me. Like,
Hmm.
I kind of go both ways with that.
Okay. Do you like to think about things for their own sake, or does it always have to have some kind of purpose? Like, in other words, does it have to tie into a goal or something like that, or are you just do you work on your own thoughts and I guess um, your own theories and things like that, or wait, where do you fall on that kind of spectrum? I don't know if that made sense.
Um, Sometimes I'll have my own theories, but I never am very confident with it. I will
Hmm.
ask other people what their theories are, and I kind of poll the room or I poll the heck out of everybody.
Yeah.
And ask them what they think. And so, like, there can be a situation whenever people have a hard time, they don't really know how I think about something because they didn't ask me. But I know how every in the department or in the room, I know exactly where they stand on it, and they don't
Mm-hmm.
realize they don't know how each other stands on it, but I know.
I see. So, do you feel like you cherry pick your data? Like when you're doing that, when you're figuring out what's going on, do you sort of pick? Are you favoring certain kinds of data? And I'll just say this. I'll admit myself that I do this, so I just can't. I'm not saying it like it's a bad thing. I just think that there's some people
Um,
who really more objectively say I'm gonna trust whatever the data, whatever people are saying or whatever. And there's other people
yeah,
who are a little more selective with like, okay, I that makes sense, but this doesn't make sense, so I'm building my own kind of mental model.
I don't trust people. I don't trust myself. I don't trust the system. I don't trust at all.
Okay. So
And
you're a
so,
skeptic, right? You're an eternal skeptic. Would that sound right?
yeah, I would say so. Like,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
And uh, so I probably do cherry pick. I know that I make up rules. Uh, I've just recently discovered I make up rules because I think, like, in my something happens, I don't like it, then I say, well, you shouldn't do this, we're not going to do this, and then I'll break my own rules.
Right. Okay. um.
Kind of puts you in a bad spot because then you just made up for rules for everybody that you can't even keep yourself.
Right. So you would say that it's important to you uh, to set a consistent example or something like that, right? You're trying to make sure that people understand that you are
Yes.
a consistent person.
Yes, that's very, very important to me.
Okay, that makes sense.
I don't have to be popular, I don't care about that, but I need to be consistent and I need to be honest. I think everybody needs to have the information so that they can make whatever decision they're going to make.
Mhm.
And so I don't think that, like, you should just tell me what's going on so that I can have all the information that I want so I can make the decision for myself.
Right. Okay. I think I know what type you might be. At least I think I have come to a possible conclusion. But now I've got to try to disprove that
It's
a
not
little.
right. Just
What's that?
kidding. I said it's not right.
It's not
I'm
right.
just I'm just kidding. I can't see the screen.
um, I'm not 100% sure that I'm right yet. So I don't know if I ever get 100% with anybody. But I mean, like, I guess I would say there's a certain point at which I'll stop asking questions because I'll feel pretty sure. I would say I've got it narrowed down to one, and then I just need to like try to prove that you're not that one. Um, would you say that you find it hard to not be around people? Like, how long does it take you to feel, oh, I really need to be? Well, you're with your husband all the time. You guys have been
I
married
like
forever, but
Yeah, I like to be around my husband and my kids, but even then I have to have my time.
right.
I have to have my alone time. But as far and they don't stress me out too much, but as
Hmm.
far as like even people like my parents who I obviously know and have known for my whole life, I can take a little dose of them. I can
Hmm. Hmm.
and I like them, but there's only so much of that and then I have to have my time. Like I have to retreat into some way to relax. Like,
Yeah, that makes sense. Would people would people say of you that you are spontaneous?
I don't think so.
Do you think you're spontaneous?
Sometimes I will get bored and create a little chaos,
Okay.
like go to a different park to walk.
Oh,
That is
that's
risky.
big deal. So you're pretty risk averse, kind of, right? You're always kind of calculating what the risks are of things, and you're steering the course kind of away from those risks.
Right. I will never jump out of a plane. If it's on fire, then I'm going to be on fire.
So, do you, would you say when you think about, so you probably, let me ask you this way. I can't make assumptions about you. I'm trying to ask questions, but I feel like I know, I have this hunch of how like answers you're gonna have. So I have to pull myself back from being like, you're probably like this, right? Um,
I might not agree.
yeah, right, exactly.
I would not say that I'm completely agreeable. I don't like to make people mad, but I wouldn't say that I'm at the top of the
Yeah,
100%
sure.
agreeable
Right,
on
right.
the
Ocean.
ocean
Yeah,
list.
okay. Where would you say that you fall on each of the ocean numbers by the letters, I mean. Where would you say you'd fall on each of those? So low agreeableness, but that's the A, so we got the O, C, E, and the N. So what about
Uh,
openness?
I'm more open than you would expect, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm not like gonna be traveling somewhere I haven't researched.
Okay. So
So,
yeah, so middle ground maybe.
kind for my personality, I'm kind of open to ideas and thoughts, but I have my own and you might not change them.
Okay, right. So you're would it be fair to say you're a bit ideationally stubborn?
Probably,
Okay.
probably so.
Okay.
I kind of have my idea how things work,
Mm-hmm.
and um, you'll have to prove me wrong.
Okay. And so would it be a fair assessment to say that you're spending a decent amount of your time contemplating the future, like future consequences of things, plans?
Um, I don't think about the future a whole lot. I have my plans for the future, and I know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to do, and then I just do it. But um, like my kids are going to all be graduated in the next 2 years, and what am I
Mm-hmm.
going to do after that? Well, I'll think about that later. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Got you. Um, how far into the future do you think that you regularly think, just on the daily?
Well, I have my menu planned out for the week for dinner,
Okay.
and I have schedules of where people have to be and when. Like that's just ongoing indefinitely. That's
Right.
future, but that's not. I don't think the kind of future that you're talking about.
Well, no, I mean it
These
is.
are all
It
planned
is.
events, but these aren't big goals. These are just places people have to be in. So
Mm-hmm.
I will schedule for the school year.
Do you feel like with your kids, and I have two kids myself, by the way, do you feel like with your kids, you can see the future consequences of things they're saying and doing, and that you're trying to steer them in a certain direction because you know exactly where they're headed?
Um, my husband is more like that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I'm like that. The way that I think about it is more like, I mean, sometimes I can think about something and I don't want them to do the thing because it didn't turn out well for me, so I don't think that's going to go well. Like sometimes I can see where it's going, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I really connect the big picture sometimes. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think I don't, I mean, that's, sometimes I don't connect the big picture like that.
Okay, so how big is the picture that you're connecting? That you think? Do you think?
If it's something that I'm familiar with,
Mm-hmm.
then I can connect it. If it's something that I have done before, I can connect it. If it's something I've never done before, then it's I don't think I connect it very well. My husband is very good at that, but um, I don't think I see that. very well. Like
Okay.
something happened in school, my kid didn't do something right and he was not doing well in a class and my husband's like he's going to be homeless. And I was like, "Where did you come up with this?" Like I don't think that way. But he's thinking about this happens and then what if this happens? But I don't think like that. I'm just thinking about the class and what are we going to do? We got to please the teacher. You're supposed to be taking these tests.
Uh-huh. Okay. Does pleasing the teacher have a large part to play in that equation?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to give the teacher what they want
Mm-hmm.
in order to pass the class. That's kind of the game you have to play. I mean, sure, great if you learn something, but if you learn something and you're not doing what the teacher is wanting you to do, then you're not going to get anywhere with it.
Got it.
So to me, it's a game, and I mean, I was very good in school, and I did not have any problems with um, learning or getting good grades. You just give the teacher what they want. You figure out how they want you to
Mm-hmm.
respond, and then you just respond that way.
I see. I see. Uh, so you're pretty good at knowing what people want, basically, is what you're saying. Like,
It's well, I mean,
or
I
figuring
think
that out. Maybe is that the right way of saying it? Like,
I have a hard time I have a hard time knowing what people want, but if as far as like if you're saying you want something, do you really want that? But once I figure it out, I'm good. But
mm-hmm.
so if I can, it's more to me like a memory. Like if I remember that you like tea, then I'm gonna have tea at my house every time you come because I want to make you comfortable. I want you to
Yeah.
like tea. Like
Right.
if I
Right.
know you like that, that's what then I'll remember
Yeah.
and I know what you want because I know what you like. But if it's something like you want to go on a trip, then I won't know that.
Is the putting out the tea for me because you know I like tea? Is that to give me as good of an experience as possible? Of like, how would you describe that? I know I'm using that word experience a lot. Please don't misunderstand what I'm saying. Like, what I mean by that is just um, experience, like having the most fulfilling moment or something like that. I don't know. Having the best possible moment. I don't know. That's kind of what
Um,
I'm getting at. But I don't know if that resonates
well,
or is it
to
something
me,
different.
it's kind of more like I know what you like, I know what you want, so it works. So this is what I'm going to do that I know works because there's so many things that I don't get right, then I can get this right. Like I can make you
Okay.
comfortable,
Sure.
and then like if you feel good about it, great. But if it works, then I'm just gonna like I want you to be comfortable.
Yeah,
And I
that makes
can
sense.
easily make you uncomfortable on accident. So if you're drinking the tea that you know that I made that you like,
Yeah.
then maybe it's not so bad whenever I
Right.
said, "Oh, you live there. I think stupid people live there." Oh,
So
sorry. What am
so
I thinking?
like
You're
is it I
you're
mean
connecting. I think you're stupid.
I hate to say it this way because it might sound like it's oversimplifying it, but in a way, is it kind of like accruing some brownie points so that you have a little bit of wiggle room in case there's a faux pas or something goes wrong?
I hadn't thought about it that way. Um, like I want you to come back, so
Right.
yeah, I mean, I guess so because I want you to come back again. So if there's some like reason for you to come back because you saw that I'm making an effort here,
Mm-hmm. So
then
are you? Do you find yourself giving a lot of gifts to people?
no, I'm horrible at that.
Are you? Why are you horrible at that?
Because if you're giving gifts to people, you have to know what they want. And I don't know what they want, and I will stress over that. In fact, it was probably about, I mean, I think it's been probably about 10 years now, but I saw something I thought one of my friends would like, and I was shopping with another, and I was like so anxious about it. Like, what if I get it? What if she doesn't like it? And my
Right.
friend looks at me and says, "You have to take the risk." And I was like, "What?" Oh, so that's kind of a learned thing. Like, I
Yeah,
had to
yeah.
have to take the risk, and
Right.
then maybe they'll like it. But
And you
if you
and you
don't take the risk, you won't know.
and you kind of have to have enough experience. You have to have enough of those experiences to know, oh, these kinds of things probably are the safe bets, and these are the ones that don't.
Right.
These are the riskier ones, I guess.
Yeah, it would have to be it would have to be known information, or I'm like, I have a harder time with it.
Right. Um.
I do not like surprises. I do not like
Oh no.
spoilers. I do not like magic. I want to know what's going on. Don't get emotional with me. No, I can't. I don't want that. So you have to preload the Lynda. That's what my husband says. You have to preload me, tell me kind of what you're thinking, give me a chance to process it, and then,
Mhm.
okay, maybe this isn't so bad.
I see. Hmm. Well, let's see. I can tell you where I'm at, and I wouldn't say that I feel confident about my answer. I would say I only feel 65% confident or something like that. Because some of the things that you say throw me off in some direction, and it's different than the direction I've been heading. But
I am a weird personality, I feel like. So I'm like not I I'm
well, I think part of it is you can't really know somebody from talking to them for an hour. Like the best I can do
yeah,
is just make a bunch of guesses. But I imagine if I knew you, if I spent 5 hours talking to you, I'd probably have a much better idea. But it's sort of
that's
like in an hour, how far can you go? You know, I can't go like to the ends of the earth, basically. Um, so I'll just show you what I got, and you can be like, well, so maybe you'll think that maybe it will be the thing that you thought you were. Who knows? Or maybe it'll just be something else, and you can go, oh, well, that's another option now that I can think about. Um, and this is one of those cases where if people who are watching the video want to leave comments, it would probably be useful to both of us because
yes.
they might have noticed something that you said that I didn't notice or I wasn't focusing on or something like that. So I might have made certain decisions along the way that other people might not have made. Um, Sometimes I feel very confident about this, and other times I don't. And this is one of those times where I don't. So I don't think I don't think it's anything wrong with you, by the way. I think it's just one of those matters. I think where the longer you know somebody, the easier it is, and sometimes after talking to somebody for an hour, you don't really still quite um, know everything about where how you. I so anyways. I know I'm beating around the bush so much. All right, so could you tell? I've got my little card here. That's not the type that I wrote on there. Let's scratch that one off. This card is getting really covered with scratched off types. So I have my card here. So what was the type that you thought going into this that you thought maybe that you were?
Well, I do want to say that I have uh, followed Myers-Briggs and studied that for probably 30 years,
Oh
I want to
wow.
say.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, I was like 14 or something whenever I first picked it up and started trying to figure it out. And so I've been, I mean, really looking at that stuff. And then here, just in the last year, kind of looked at OP and the functions and
Mhm.
that kind of thing. And so that puts a different spin on things. And so I really think that I'm probably an ISTJ, but
Interesting.
some people think that when you really get to know me, you can kind of see that, and some people think, well, maybe it's INTJ, but
Hmm.
my N isn't really very high. It's when you look at it, it's it's high. It's not as high as the S. Let's put it that way. It's kind of, some people really think I'm intuitive, but I don't think so.
Some people think you're intuitive. That's interesting. Why do people think that you're intuitive?
I think it's because I say things that people didn't think about,
Sure. Okay.
and and then I can see the case for ISFJ because uh, I like to make people comfortable and I like to be in the
Mm.
kitchen, but I don't really think I have FE at all. Like if I don't have a clue as to how anybody else is feeling. It really is very confusing to me.
um. Okay. Well, then you're probably going to be very confused by my guess. Because it's none of those. None of the ones that you just
Oh
mentioned.
wow, this is interesting.
So like I said, I could be
So
very
there's 15 left, or what? No,
yeah. Well,
hold on,
I could be really
13.
I could be very wrong on this. I don't know.
Like,
It just came from the branching of down the path that I kind of went down. So this is what I came up with. Is it backwards, by the way?
oh
Is it backwards?
no,
No.
it's backwards.
ENFJ.
Interesting.
I guess I'll explain why in a few different. Okay, so
Wow.
you mentioned ISTJ. Sorry, ISTJ. What were the other ones?
Oh, IJ.
INTJ and what was the third one? There was a third one, wasn't it?
ISFJ.
ISFJ. ISFJ was a contender. My final three actually were ISFJ, ESFJ, and ENFJ. And ultimately, I ultimately eliminated the NESI axis because of
Oh.
a couple of reasons. Although you do quote unquote rely on your experience, um, I get the stronger sense that you are using introverted intuition in the way that you communicate. Um, Especially you were very quickly able to succeed at my convergence test, which is an NI test. So that's sort of like how universally you see things, or how able you are to connect the dots between ideas. And so that's something that people who use NESI seem to struggle with, that I've tested, anyways, because they want to diverge so much, so that they're like these three objects. It's like a thousand things, and they can't really necessarily easily pull it together and find the convergence
Hmm.
points. You did worse on the NE test. You did okay. You actually did pretty good on the NE test, actually, but you did worse on the NE test than you did on the NI test. Um, uh,
Interesting.
Yeah. And then just the way that you kind of describe the way that you work with people, it reminds me of myself quite a bit as an INFJ. Using NI and FE to, like, I know that you say that you can't figure people out and stuff like that, but it's a really important thing to you. And
Yes.
that's just something that is really important to NIFE users, is the ability to understand the you want to understand people. You want to divine
Yeah.
divine what their motivations are and where they are. You may feel like I don't know, but that bothers you because you have to know. So that,
Wow.
you know what I mean? So you might
Well,
not
and
think
they
that you're
say
as
too,
strong in
like
that, but
they say too that sometimes that you think you're one thing because you think you're terrible at,
right.
you know,
But
terrible at
but it's
type
actually that you
A
hold it
thing.
to such a high standard that,
Right.
right.
Well, I'm gonna get uh, typed by the OP people
Oh, okay.
in the next week, so I'll have to update this feed whenever I find out
Well, I don't
what
know.
they say.
Yeah, I don't know. I
So,
don't know if Dave Superpowers is doing even remote. I don't think he's doing it remotely the way I am, but
right.
um,
So,
I don't know. But um, let me see. Let me try to give you some other things to think about, I guess. Early on, I was trying to disprove extroverted thinking, and ultimately, it seemed like you were way more focused on on other people's comfort and on other people's experience in a way, or whatever the brownie points thing, or whatever it is, whatever the deeper thing is. There, it might be more complicated, but the point is that's a big thing. That's a big thing to you, and so that's not something I've observed in FITE users. That's a little more arbitrary, I guess, is the way I would say it. Um, they with FITE users, it's kind of like, well, if you don't like it, whatever. So you know what I mean. It's just not a priority for them. They would much rather just like I know you talk a lot about protocols and things, which is a TE thing for sure, but um, the other side of it is you're in a field that is very protocol driven, and no matter what type you are, you're going to have to fall under these protocols and abide by them and live by them. So even if you are a TI user, like tough beans, you're a TI user in a TE world, you know. So you just kind of have to make it work. Um, but you definitely, to me, seem to talk more like a TI user. You seem to have your own ideas about things, and um, maybe a bit stubbornly, and that's, I mean, I'm a TI user too, and like it's very skeptical and doesn't necessarily take things at face value, and always wants to know like what are the details. Tell me everything so I can think about it. You know.
Yeah.
So that would, I mean, that would make sense for all ISFJ, ESFJ, and ENFJ. So I wasn't able to, just because I figured TI, I wasn't able to necessarily say, oh, then you must be one of those, because
Right.
so really what it ultimately came down to was the NISE and NESI axes, and I had kind of more or less disqualified NESI, like I would say about halfway through or something like that. Um, so I guess, yeah, I think that's kind of what led me to ENFJ. I mean, I don't think that you have there are like my daughter's an ENFJ. There's other I've known ENFJs. You're There's a spectrum I've noticed, kind of, if you are an ENFJ anyways. Some ENFJs are very some ENFJs can be more pushy and more spontaneous, and other ENFJs can be a little softer and a little more strategic about their mannerisms. Some like ENFJs kind of have a reputation of having a lot of advice to give to people, but that's not all of them. Um,
Right.
so so that's why I guess that's my rationale. Like I said, I'm not like super confident in that answer, but at least it's a cognitive function mixed for you to think about as
Yeah.
you contemplate like what where you think you fall on these different spectrums, you know.
That's very interesting to me. My daughter is also an ENFJ, but she's
Oh.
like nice, and I don't see myself as nice, even though I probably am.
Well, yeah, I guess that's the hard part, right? We've talked about that numerous times in this call. It's like it's very hard.
Right.
It's very hard to know how you're being perceived. You have to triangulate based on how other people react and go, oh, well,
Right.
I must be coming across this way or whatever. And that's something an NIFE user. I mean, I do it, and I think you do it too. Will do is you're constantly doing that triangulation because you feel like it's not enough that I feel a certain way or whatever. I have to know how other people are perceiving me.
Yeah, that's true.
And
I,
so I have to manage their perceptions. That's an FE thing. And then I have to know. That's an NI thing. I want to know. Tell me the truth. You said truth is very important to you. That's an NI thing. NI users want the truth. Even at the expense of their own emotions. They want to know the truth. If it hurts me, that's fine, and I'll deal with it. But I want to know what the truth is so I can make sense of it and kind of move forward. You know?
yeah. Well, I'm gonna have to do some studying and read up on that again,
Yeah,
because
maybe.
I mean, I can see some of that. Yeah. So you've given me some things to think about.
I mean, there are some things you've said that wouldn't square with ENFJ too. So that's where maybe you'll have to rewatch the video, rewatch where I wasn't sure and stuff, and maybe you might have said something that I was interpreting a certain way, but you meant it differently, and maybe that's why I was thrown off. So Yeah, rewatch the video. Maybe even leave a comment. If you want to leave a really like more in-depth comment on the video, that might be helpful, so that you can say like a day or two later, as you've had time to reflect on how everything kind of played out, where I might have gotten it wrong or where you rethought something. So
Sounds good.
yeah, okay,
And I'd like to hear other people's comments too,
I would
whenever
too.
they just even maybe something I said or something they see, just something, just some little tidbit would be that'd be fun.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you, Linda, for your time. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank
And
you.
yeah, and have a good rest of your evening. Everyone watching, I hope you enjoyed spending time with us this evening. Stay tuned for more videos like this, and make sure to subscribe. And check out typologygifts.com if you want to see my gift recommendations. And you'll have to go to look at the ENFJ gifts and
Yes.
tell me if those resonate or something. So good times. All right. Well, thanks very much, and adieu.